This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLesio and Kenny Bergamy.
All right, counting down the month of July. Actually, still have a week and some change before we have to flip that calendar, but counting one of several topics on today's show.
Yes, hundreds of Georgians getting ready to put their math skills to use. Straight ahead, details of the Great Georgia Pollinator Census. We'll tell you its purpose and how you can get involved, spending just 15 minutes of your time in the garden or even in the backyard. Online shopping now more popular than ever, and for those unable to head to the grocery store or local farmer's market, there's now a service designed just for you. And then later, does your vegetable garden look like this? Wilted leaves falling off the vine. Well, it may not be your fault. I mean, it kind of is, but not really. Extension specialist Paul Pugliese on why the real culprit could be the place you bought your fertilizer. That and so much more starts right now on the Farm Monitor.
With the fourth Great Georgia Pollinator Census set to take place next month, everyone is encouraged to participate in order to assess the health of pollinators around the state. Damon Jones reports from Union County on how to get involved and why the information is so important to the ag industry.
With beekeepers across the country reporting a more than 45% loss to their colonies last year, the second highest rate in more than 15 years, getting an idea of just how much that decline can be seen within the state is vital for producers. And that's the main purpose for the Great Georgia Pollinator Census, which is set to take place in the coming weeks.
It is a citizen science initiative where citizens come out one of 2 days in August, find a favorite pollinator plant, and count the insects that land on that plant for 15 minutes. And they put those insects into specific categories, and then they upload their data to our website. We're trying to get an idea of how many bees people are seeing, what's our butterfly populations, and mostly we're really excited to see people get excited to get out and learn about these insects so they can become advocates for them as well.
Not only will the participants provide valuable information, but they will also gain an appreciation for the many different insects that are part of the pollination process.
The number one comment I get back every year without fail is, Becky, I had no idea. I had no idea of the diversity and the beauty and how many insects are in my own garden. So just get out there, spend that 15 minutes, and you too will be amazed at the little homegrown park that you have in your backyard.
Getting an accurate account of just how many pollinators are in Georgia is imperative for the state's #1 industry, as nearly 80% of the crops grown rely on these insects.
And we grow things like watermelon that has to have a pollinator, and squash. So pollinators are imperative for Georgia agriculture, and they're also important for just our everyday gardens, for seed production and pest control even. Some of our pollinators are beneficials in other ways.
With the success of the first 3 censuses, more states are looking to get involved in the future.
I'm very excited about that. I love that everybody's jumping on board and learning about pollinators and realizing how important they are and seeing the benefits of attracting and keeping those pollinators in their yard. We've been training some South Carolinians, and we don't talk football during our trainings, but they're excited to kind of see where their populations are and learn as well as we do. So eventually we'd like to see this stretch in more of a Southeast pollinator census.
This event, which is both fun and informative for people of all ages, is very easy to be a part of. In fact, getting started is only a few mouse clicks away.
Visit our website, it's gapc.org, or contact your local UGA Extension office. You can find out about events that are happening so you can count with people. You can learn about how to differentiate the different insects in the categories and get excited about counting days, which are August 19th and 20th.
Reporting from Union County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
With a simple click of a mouse, you can get just about anything delivered to your door. Things like pizza, toilet paper, even a car. So why should freshly grown farm products be any different? Well, thanks to an online farmers market called Market Wagon, it's no different at all. John Holcomb reports.
Here in Georgia and across the country, consumers want fresh, locally grown produce, which often drives them to farmers markets or U-Pick operations. However, in the age of getting everything from a push of a button, consumers can get farm fresh products straight from the farm to their door with Market Wagon, a digital farmers market created by this man, Nick Carter, a farmer himself who recognized there was an opportunity for consumers to connect directly with producers and the products they grow and sell.
We started 6 years ago in Indianapolis, and it's an online farmers market where customers can find everything that they're looking for, from meat, dairy, and eggs, produce, baked goods, and heat meat items, all on our website from various different local farmers and food producers, and check out with just one order. And then we aggregate everything at our fulfillment center, and we'll deliver it. And each one of those fulfillment centers has a completely different set of local farmers and food producers. So they're all hyper-local supply chains, and they're all truly online farmers markets where you're interacting just with the local producers there in your area.
Since their start 6 years ago, they've opened up new markets all across the Midwest and South, including here in Georgia. And one producer here in the state that uses the online market to sell her products is Sylvia Crow, who owns Sunwoman Farms in Bogart, a small vegetable operation. Sylvia decided to use Market Wagon a while back when she needed a new market for her produce.
When everything started coming in, we had more than we could get rid of. So we were trying to find other options on how to, get rid of it and, not have a total loss. So my husband saw this on one of the news channels, and he said, why don't we give this a try? So we called him, and this has been a blessing. This has been bigger than what I had anticipated, which is a good thing.
Since she started selling on Market Wagon, Sylvia says that her business has grown week over week, which she says is due to people realizing there's options out there to buy fresh foods in a very convenient way.
I think that people are wanting more local. They want to know that their produce, their things that they're getting are coming from Georgia. And I think people are seeing that. They're seeing a difference now where they might not have before.
And according to Nick, it's not just a benefit to consumers, as producers now have the chance to expand their customer base and the chance to get the products from their farm into markets they wouldn't have before.
What brings producers to our platform is really just that desire to connect directly with the people who are buying their food, and the need for local farms to be able to grow their market, find new outlets to be able to sell directly to consumers. It's higher margin for producers, higher margin product and sales channel, and it creates a diversified income stream for the farm that oftentimes makes it possible for the next generation to be able to continue on.
Reporting in Bogart for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
John, thank you so much. Oh boy, sweet corn, eggplant, and blueberry-infused cantaloupe. Sounds like another tasty edition of Meals from the Field. That is next when the Farm Monitor continues.
Reticulated muskmelon might sound a bit exotic, but you know this popular sweet orange melon by another name, cantaloupe. Named after the town of Cantaloupe, Italy, the cantaloupe is the most popular melon in America. But our cantaloupe is actually very different from the melons grown in Europe. Like watermelon and honeydew, the American cantaloupe is related to other vine vegetables like cucumbers, pumpkins, and squash. Cantaloupe likes to grow in sandy, well-drained soil with lots of nutrients. The farmer will use a tractor to make raised rows called hills about 3 feet apart before planting cantaloupe seeds. Young vines need 1 to 2 inches of water every week while the plant is growing, blooming, and producing new fruit. As the melons grow larger, less water is needed. In fact, dry weather makes the sweetest melons. Sometimes the ground will be covered with black plastic to warm the soil and keep the melons clean. In all, it takes 3 to 4 months before the cantaloupes are mature enough to be picked. Cantaloupe is picked by hand. Workers load the trailers and transport the melons to a packing house. Here they are washed and cleaned before they are sent to market. When choosing a cantaloupe, use your nose. A ripe melon smells sweet. You should always wash the melon and all utensils with soap and water before serving. Cantaloupe is naturally low in calories and fat. It provides a rich source of nutrients that are necessary for good health, including vitamin A, vitamin C, B vitamins, and minerals that maintain healthy vision and fight infections. Look for Georgia-grown cantaloupe or reticulated muskmelon in a grocery store or produce stand near you this summer.
All right, so now that you are all in the know about cantaloupe and you are vegecated, thank you very much. Vegecated, thanks to the Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association, you are ready to rock and roll with Marcia and I, and we're about to make you look like a world-renowned chef.
I hope so.
Yes, but welcome back to the Farm Monitor and to another edition of Meals from the Field. Again, if you are new to the show, that is Marcia Crowley. I am Ray DeLessio, and we are here to service you and teach you all about some good food and Georgia-grown food today. So what do we have?
Well, everything we're doing, most everything is in season.
Okay.
Okay, it's all veggies. We're doing an eggplant parmesan, which, you know, with the meat prices now, eggplant is a really good meat substitute. Sure. So we're going to start with that. All right, I've got a little bit of jarred marinara in the bottom of a casserole pan, and I have breaded the eggplant in Italian breadcrumbs and egg, and you bake them in the oven for like 30 minutes just to kind of crisp it up a little bit. It's an alternative to frying it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we're going to put a layer in there, and this is really good. It was good leftover too. I think our viewers will like it.
Good. It's always a positive.
Always. That's the goal anyway. You can't please everybody though, right? All right, you're going to put a little bit of, it calls for 2 cups of mozzarella cheese grated, and I'm just going to show one layer of this. You can figure out the others, they're just like it. And if you want to grate it fresh, that's fine too. Actually, it's better if you do that. I did not, because I was in a hurry. All right, lay a little bit of that. Let's move that out of the way. We got a lot going on here. A little bit of Parmesan cheese grated. I put a little bit of Parmesan cheese in the breadcrumbs as well when I battered them. All right, then you're going to add a little bit of fresh basil, which is also in season. Most people have that in their garden. My basil didn't do well this year. I don't know what I did wrong. A little bit of the jarred marinara, or you can make your own, and then you're just going to repeat those layers 3 times.
3 times.
All right, this is a grilled cucumber salad. If grilling intimidates you with cucumber, just don't do it. But all it does is it brings out the sweetness and kind of caramelizes it. And you cut it into 6 wedges, a cucumber, and you brush it with olive oil and honey, and you just do it till you get grill marks. Okay, and this dressing is a blueberry vinaigrette. I've got in 3/4 of a cup of Georgia blueberries and a little bit of lemon juice, 1/2 cup of olive oil, and hopefully this contraction will cooperate. Tablespoon of honey. I know that looks dangerous, doesn't it?
Really makes me
I had to
nervous.
register it.
You with power tools next to me
I know,
scares
it's
me.
very scary, isn't it? All right, then we've got about a tablespoon of fresh ginger. If you don't have fresh ginger, you can use the ground already done.
Okay.
A little bit of white wine vinegar. Teaspoon of Dijon mustard. All right, here we go. You might want to back up, put on some goggles or something. It worked twice at home, but let's see. This is called a stick blender.
Go for it.
You can put this in a blender or a food processor.
And there you go.
There you go.
How about that?
How about that? Now,
And you didn't even hurt either one of us.
I know, and then you're going to put this, oh, there's a little bit of, you know what that does. You can spread a little bit of this over the salad, but the salad is the grilled eggplant, some greens, a cup of Georgia blueberries. You could use strawberries when they're in season if you wanted. some Georgia pecans, some goat cheese, which Georgia has plenty of goat cheese, or feta, or mozzarella, whatever, but the goat cheese is really good in here.
Okay.
Then you're going to spread that vinaigrette on top of it and serve it cold. It's really, really good and
Very
healthy.
nice.
Good use for eggplant.
And last but not least,
Is a fresh corn salad. This is 3 cups of fresh corn that I cut off the cob.
Okay.
You boil the corn for like 3 minutes beforehand, cut it off the cob. You're going to add to that half a cup of yellow. I'm here. What is it with me and the colors? Oh my gosh, that's a red onion. I do this every time. I'm getting worried.
I make you nervous, don't I?
Yeah, I know that is. You're such a superstar. A cup of chopped onion, chopped tomato. That's red.
Mm-hmm.
Half a cup of cucumber, a little bit of basil, fresh basil, and the dressing is olive oil, lime juice, salt, pepper, and garlic powder, and you just serve it over there. And this is really good too.
All in season, all from Georgia, and all of it on our website. Just log on to farm-monitor.com, go up to the very top, check on the recipe section. Everything will be there for you in detail. So good to see you again.
You too, Ray.
Thank you so much, and thank you for watching another edition of Meals from the Field. We will see you next month.
As we go to break, some trivia for you. Was the damage to this tomato plant A, the result of disease, B, insects, or C, some type of fertilizer? The answer when the Farm Monitor continues.
Hi, Paul Pugliese here with the University of Georgia Extension. Today we're on site looking at a backyard vegetable garden, and we're looking at some problems here and some vegetables that we got a call about this week. It's actually something that I get a lot of calls about. Almost every week I'm getting a few calls in the summertime, especially early summer, with problems that we're seeing showing up on vegetables. This particular problem is actually not an insect or a disease. If you look behind me, there's several tomato plants here that look kind of stunted. The leaves don't look really full. There's obviously something wrong here. And in this case, we like to look at the pattern. Every tomato plant in this garden is affected by this problem. So what is causing this? Well, unfortunately, this is a textbook example of what we call herbicide injury. And there's a lot of different types of herbicides that can cause this type of injury on vegetables in our garden. Now, there are different ways that herbicides can show up in a garden. One, of course, would be drift. If the lawn or a pasture nearby was sprayed with a particular herbicide, you could get some drift over onto the garden. But that's not the case here. We know there were no herbicides that were sprayed nearby. That was one of the first questions that I asked. In this particular case, we see herbicide carryover. And that carryover is actually showing up in either grass clippings or compost, a lot of times manure or even hay that's put into the garden as a soil amendment. In this particular situation, the client actually got manure from a local farm, and that manure actually has herbicides in it. Unfortunately, they weren't aware of this. When they got the manure, they used it in their garden as a soil amendment, which is a great thing to do. But a lot of people don't realize that most of the hay and most of the pastures that are grazed for animals like cattle and horses are sprayed with these herbicides that can actually carry over and still be active even in the manure for months, sometimes years after they've been applied. Now these herbicides, interestingly enough, are very safe to use around animals. We use these in cattle and horses in their pastures, and there's not really any concerns there as far as animal toxicity. In fact, a lot of these herbicides you can spray and graze without any concerns as far as the livestock. And that's why they're such a popular herbicide. These are very selective herbicides. They only kill broadleaf plants. Things like tomatoes and okra in your garden would be very sensitive to that. It does not affect grass though. These are selective herbicides that can be sprayed without hurting grass in your pasture. In this particular case, you can look behind me, there's some corn planted here, which corn is actually in the grass family and is not going to be affected by these herbicides to any great extent. Now the next question is, will these plants recover? Unfortunately, in this situation, that herbicide will continue to be in the soil for quite a while. Depending on the chemical, that could last for a few months. Some of the common chemicals like 2,4-D might only last for 3 to 6 months. Some of the stronger chemicals like dicamba or picloram can last 6, 12, maybe even 18 months in the soil after that manure was applied. So it all depends on which herbicide was used here. A lot of clients want to know, can we test for that? Yes, we can send a soil sample off to the lab and test for it, but it's a very expensive test. It may cost $200 to $300 to test for that particular chemical. And that's not usually very practical for a garden like this. So what do we do about it? Well, in this situation, the best thing you can do, unfortunately, we can't take it out of the soil once it's there, but we can watch it. So wait about 6 months, come back in and plant a couple more tomato plants and just watch them. They're a good indicator of what's going on in that soil. And if you continue to see these types of symptoms showing up, then we need to wait probably another 6 months, maybe another 12 months, and come back and retest with some more plants. So that's the easiest way. It's cheap to do that. That only costs you a few bucks to buy a new plant and replace that as a test. These herbicides will break down with time. They break down in sunlight, believe it or not. So photodegradation is what causes these to break down. And eventually they will break down. There's nothing you can really do to accelerate that breakdown or get it out of the soil, as I said earlier. So again, it just takes time. So one of the things that we should learn from this is to be very careful about what you put in your garden. You want to actually, avoid manures in most situations. Even if you got manure from let's say a stable owner with horses, and they say, oh, well, we don't spray our pasture. Well, they may not know that they're buying hay from another farm that's spraying that hay field, and they're buying that hay and feeding it to the horses. So a lot of times they don't even know that they have that issue. So it's very important to probably just avoid manures in your garden altogether. A safer option would be to buy bagged compost or manure at the local garden center that's already been tested and clean. Another option would be poultry litter. Poultry litter is not going to have those herbicide residues because they're not grazing pastures or hay. And then another option would be, instead of using hay in your garden as a mulch, maybe look at using pine straw as an alternative. And that's actually a decent mulch to put in your vegetable garden as well. So again, if you ever have any questions about this or similar problems in your vegetable garden, feel free to call your local county extension office by calling 1-800-ASK-UGA1 and continue to follow us on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
As always, Paul, great information. Thanks so much. And before we send you on your way, friendly reminder that for all the latest ag news regarding food, recipes, and what's happening on Georgia farms, be sure you check out all of our social media platforms, including farm-monitor.com.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor. Stay safe and have a great week.